So what is up, everybody? Darth Punjabi here with my good friend, the Sadistic Moppit.
Yo,
Yeah, so a lot has happened this week.
sure has. Holy fuck.
For example, and today the U.S. is now restricting visas to Turks, apparently.
Ooh, that's generally a good sign that something's gonna kick off soon.
Yep, looks like the Middle East is gonna have
Oh
another
boy.
shitstorm.
Again. Well, have to have one every like 3 years, don't you?
Yep,
Mine as well.
oh, yep. What's really interesting is that the Kurds are not backing down yet, which is good because that shows that they're not afraid of attack from three different countries.
Yeah. I'm kind of worried about what Iran's doing right now.
From what I've known, there
Actually,
are
yeah.
Yeah, from what I know, there are separatist movements in Iran. There's like the Kurds, the Azerbaijanis, the Balochis. Like a lot of people don't really tend to think about this, but Iran is not an ethno state because Persians are only half the population.
Good point, good point.
Yep. And this is what you tend to see in many dictatorships. It's like separatist movements because they don't really want to be part of a dictatorship. Sorry, this is like my first live stream, so sorry I'm a
Yeah.
bit shy.
Yeah. Fair enough, fair enough. Right,
Yep.
so what topic should we really get into depth with first, just as a starter?
I think the Las Vegas, because that's like really confusing.
Right. So
So,
you want to introduce it or
okay, I'll introduce it. So basically, there was like a big shooting last week in Las Vegas at a concert, and like I think like about 48 dead, 500 injured, and like the guy who did it,
yeah.
there's a yeah, and the guy who did it, I think did he shoot himself, right? He
I'm
shot
not sure.
himself. I think
I
he
haven't
shot
heard anything
himself, and we're
actually.
getting a
I
lot.
haven't heard about people apprehending him. So
Yeah, and there's a lot
yeah,
of confusing reports because apparently ISIS they're taking responsibility, then the FBI saying it's not ISIS. It's like,
yeah.
and apparently $100,000 to the Philippines, which I thought was very interesting because
Hmm.
ISIS they have a branch in the Philippines. People don't know this. They have a branch.
Yeah. Wasn't it? They like took an entire city, didn't they? And the president said the citizens had to get out, and the military was just regardless of whether or not civilians were there, just shoot to kill, and what bomb and do anything it took.
Yeah, I know that to deploy the military, and apparently, and like what I found very interesting was that the Philippines has a small Arab population, which I found very interesting. What's that sound?
I'm not sure which sound we talked about.
We were just talking about the Philippines.
Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, from what we hear, the guy had an illegal modification on one of his guns that pretty much simulated full auto, and he shot just kind of into the crowd from the top of a hotel. Took
Mm.
4 suitcases worth of ammo and stuff in there over like a week's worth.
Yeah, they
Put it on a
yeah they
tripod and
found a
shot
lot of
the crowd.
yeah they found a lot of guns, and apparently there was like this one girl who was trying to warn people like 40 minutes before the shooting.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
pity
yeah,
people don't listen.
yeah, yeah. This is like the most confusing shooting I ever seen. Like usually we find out things like in a day or two, but still, like it's been like almost like a week, and we still don't know a lot. And it's like
Yeah.
so many different so many different stories coming out. It's like, but
I don't
and I
think
feel
it's
like people.
ISIS in this case. It doesn't really seem to be. Well, I guess shooting at a concert is kind of their style, but
Hmm,
it doesn't really
hmm,
seem to be the type of person who usually carries this stuff out.
hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. It's usually, but I noticed that they usually do take responsibilities for things that other terrorist organizations do. For one example, I think it was
oh
like
yeah, of
last
course.
year. Like last year, there was like a big terror attack against lawyers in Pakistan, And so Al Qaeda they took responsibility, and ISIS took responsibility, and they kept saying it was me, no, it was me, it was me.
I mean, they're in
Like
a constant,
fighting over.
they're in a constant competition to see who can kill most people. Like, and ISIS took responsibility, and then immediately there's an attack in Denmark by Al Qaeda, and it just goes back and forth. Whenever one makes an attack, the other one immediately has to try and outdo them to show where the guys you should join up with.
Yeah, and I heard that Denmark might be banning the burqa soon, which is good.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Yep. And apparently yesterday, there was like 1 million Polish people that were praying at the border to keep Europe safe. That was interesting.
Yeah, Poland's an interesting one because they're doing a good job of protecting Western civilization, but they also happen to be protecting the parts that I don't particularly like.
Yeah, like
the extreme anti-immigration thing.
But this seems to be like more of a. This is like kind of like a Slavic thing because I do have a Polish friend who told me a lot about the Slavic culture, and like it's kind of recurring in Slavic countries to be rather authoritarian. Like you see in Russia, Serbia, Croatia, like it's all authoritarian, and that's like basically the whole history. Look at it, like Russia since day one was always authoritarian, which is why it's kind of hard to get like a liberal democracy in Russia. Like with Boris Yeltsin, that didn't last.
Of Eastern Europe, really, they've all taken the no, we're not going to take anything or anyone in.
And not just the.
They're getting into a close competition with the EU now.
Yeah, and it's not just the Polish, but also the Hungarians.
And the Czech as well.
Yeah.
And Bulgarians.
Yeah, because people don't realize this, but when the Muslims were trying to conquer Europe, the Ottomans they went to Eastern Europe, so the Slavs they obviously know how that the fight against Islam. Because because when it comes to Western Europe, it was only the Spaniards and the Portuguese that they conquered. They could have conquered France or Germany because of Charles, because of the Holy Roman Empire. So the Western Europeans they never really fought Islam if you think about it.
Yeah, they've always had a buffer state in between them.
Yeah, they always had the buffer. Yeah, and what I found funny was yesterday the Saudi king went to Russia and like people making memes about him entering the room.
Yeah. It looks like he was going there for a fight.
Yeah, look, obviously we all know the Russian would win because the Arabs haven't won a war in centuries by themselves. I watched like a whole video about it, and I did tweet it out a few times.
Yeah, I watched that one as well. It's quite good.
Yeah,
it
does explain a lot.
Military structure thing, they just can't quite get their heads around. Everyone's in it for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, corruption was a massive problem for the Afghanistan army that the US set up. They were like, they'd have 30 cars in an area and they'd be getting fuel for all of them, but 20 of the 30 would be just bombed out wrecks, or they'd be getting extra ammo and then be selling it at the local market, and the Taliban would end up with it. Because people just wanted that extra cash.
Yeah, Afghanistan is really interesting because in Afghanistan, you're either pro-India or pro-Pakistan. That's all you could be in Afghanistan, just pro-India or pro-Pakistan.
Really?
And the Afghans you think about it, the Afghans have been through a lot in the last few decades. Like that, the communists, then they have Bin Laden, then the U.S. invasion.
The graveyard of empires. Never goes well with invade Afghanistan, sorry.
It never gets well with the Afghans.
I mean, it's just really, really good territory to defend. There's so many mountains and caves you can just hide out and do guerrilla warfare from. And, people don't really take kindly to being occupied.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that I once read an article about that they sent surveyors to Afghanistan and they found a lot of rare minerals under the soil.
Oh yeah.
It's like estimated to be about It's about to be worth about $1 trillion, if I remember correctly.
Whoa.
You have $1
That's
trillion worth of minerals under your soil, and then no one can really excavate it because you have like militias, Taliban all running around, lack of infrastructure.
yeah.
So
I mean,
Afghanistan had the potential to be rich.
same with all like Iraq and all them. Then they all have the natural resources. They've just
Yeah,
either been fucked
and
by authoritarianism or Western intervention, and they just can't
yeah,
quite get back on their feet.
and I actually found do you know how the Soviets ended up invading Afghanistan?
No, I'm not familiar.
So basically, the king of Afghanistan, Zahir Shah, he was in Italy for a dentist appointment, and like one of the people that plotted the coup in Afghanistan, Zahir Shah fired a few years prior. So he told the Soviets they could just come in, and then started a communist party. So this all started because he fired a dude. The king fired a dude.
I mean, and that one thing pretty much led to the entire country falling apart. Holy shit.
Yes.
Dentist appointment as
Yep, and I
well.
know that he was in Italy for like a few decades, then went back to Afghanistan after the US invasion. So yeah, it's a kind of funny story how the commies got Afghanistan.
What the fuck?
Yep, and what's also interesting is that the whole now Turkey, because apparently because of deteriorating relations with the US, they're now trying to go towards Qatar and Iran.
Oh yeah. I mean, I occasionally talk to this guy who's in the military, and he's not allowed to say anything like specific, but he has said that relationships with Turkey are the worst they've been for many, many decades. And it doesn't really surprise me the way shit's going there.
Yeah, like a lot's been going on in Turkey. Like I know that ever since the coup, Erdogan has basically purged the military, purged the institutions. He
Yeah,
just basically purged everything.
he has a complete
And
lockdown
this,
on social media and the internet there, and journalism.
yeah, yeah, this actually reminds me a lot of Pakistan during the 80s because Pakistan had a very similar situation in the 80s under General Zia. Basically, he Islamized the country after he took over in a coup.
Well, it never really ends well when you do that, does it?
Basically, yeah, like I just noticed so many similarities between Erdogan and the late General Zia, who was a douche, by the way, because he kind of, I guess a lot of problems today can be traced back to this motherfucker. For example, he supported Bin Laden. Basically,
Yeah.
he allowed the Saudis to fund the madrasas in Pakistan. He basically gave the mullahs power. So there's actually this one party in Pakistan called Jamaat Islami. They're kind of like the Muslim Brotherhood of South Asia. And the only time they ever had power was during his regime.
What a cool guy.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, like
Single-handedly fucks the
he did the
country.
usual. Arrested journalists. He made it mandatory to learn Arabic in schools.
Huh.
And I actually remember this a few years ago. Erdogan actually tried bringing back Ottoman Turkish back from the dead. He tried.
Really?
Yeah, he tried bringing that dead language because Ottoman Turkish is like it's written in the Arabic alphabet, but it was a hard. But there's a reason why Ataturk banned it. It was a hard language. Like it was so hard that many Turks had to hire translators just to talk with the government.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
I imagine the populace wouldn't be so on board with that, seeing as they're kind of proud of them breaking away from the Ottomans.
yeah. So
Like,
Erdogan,
it's the whole reason they had the Kurds, right? Because after the collapse, the Kurds supported the Ottomans, and
yeah. So
the Turks
yeah,
hated them.
I know the Turks hate the Kurds because the Kurds didn't support Ataturk during the Turkish independence war. They basically sided with the British because the British were like, "We'll give you Kurdistan," and after the war,
Yeah.
so Ataturk was like, "Fuck you." It's just like persecuted the living shit out of him.
Yeah. I mean, I like Ataturk for the most part, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but the Armenian genocide and the Kurdish genocide.
Yeah.
Not really a big fan of that.
I
Erdogan,
mean,
he seems to be
he's
wanting to bring back the Ottoman Empire. Like he wants a second Ottoman Empire.
yeah. I mean, if there's one way to get people to invade you, empire, like building an empire is a good way to do it.
Yep. Eminem, yeah. It was very, and the whole thing, like Turkey allying with Iran, is interesting because they both don't want Kurdish independence, but one is Sunni, the other Shia, and during the times of the Ottomans, they always had wars with the Persians.
Hmm.
Like, there were always a constant war with the Persians over territory in the east. So it's
I
interesting
mean,
that it can be the hatred of the Kurds unifies everyone in the Middle East. Like one day they're all killing each other. Then when the Kurds were like, "We're gonna make our own country, motherfuckers," and they'll be like, we got to team up
I
for one
mean,
day."
I mean, them and Israel seem to have the same problem with unifying force, just not in a nice way.
Yeah. Like what's interesting is that the only Muslim countries that recognize Israel are the Central Asian countries and
Yeah.
Egypt and Jordan. And what's really interesting? People don't know this about Central Asia, but Central Asian Muslim empires were actually some of the most barbaric,
Really?
like in Muslim history. Actually, people tend to forget about this.
Wait,
Like yeah,
I've never really read much into them. Anything like specific you can tell me? Might
I
come in
know
useful later.
basically they were like the Timurids who eventually divided into three empires. So basically, you had like a Turkish tribe that basically took Afghanistan in parts of India and Iran. They basically split the empire. So you had the Safavids, Persians, I think. I forgot which dynasty they created. Then you have the Afghans, and then you had the Mughals. Then basically they conquered most of India. And the Mughals is actually Persian or Mongol because the Timurids were direct descendants of Genghis Khan. And the Mughals, they looked at the history of India. There's a reason why they consider the Mughal Empire to be like their equivalent of Nazi Germany.
Didn't they went to Baghdad and they like built a wall of the severed heads around it or something?
No, the Mughals conquered India.
Oh, India.
India, not
Sorry,
Iraq.
wrong people.
You're wrong, people. And so basically when they ruled India, there was a lot of forced conversions. They basically took a lot of taxes from people to make like people, things like the Taj Mahal and all these very the mosques that you see in northern India.
Yeah.
Basically, when a lot of these constructions happened, like the Taj Mahal, there were famines and they taxed people during the famines. And I know that Emperor Aurangzeb, he was the Hitler of India for a reason.
I'm
Like,
gonna go out on a limb and say that he wasn't exactly a nice guy.
yeah, he wasn't. He arrested his own dad, put him in prison for 10 years, fed him alcohol, actually, and basically just started killing everyone. Like, he just killed everyone, Aurangzeb.
Oh, nice. Top notch leader.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually watching this one documentary about the possibility that Muhammad might have been faked.
Oh yeah, I was hearing about that as well. Like the descriptions of Medina and Mecca and the Quran don't match up with
Yeah.
like the geographical locations or something.
Yeah. Apparently, like some verses of the Quran they describe about Muhammad's life, and apparently it matches more with Jordan than Mecca and Medina.
Huh,
It's very interesting
man.
because apparently the word Muhammad his name wasn't written on money until like decades after the conquest of Jerusalem. So there's a theory
Uh,
that he might have been fake just to unify the Arabs. But what's confusing is that then what caused the Shia Sunni divide then?
oh yeah, because if
Yeah,
he doesn't
that's
exist, who the hell was his cousin, and
yeah, that
why
who
are the Shia worshipping him?
yeah. And I found it interesting that the only reason why the Arabs were able to conquer that much land in a short time was because the Byzantines and the Persians were always at war.
Hmm.
Always at war. So Only they weren't at war. They
Yeah,
probably could have stopped this shit.
the constant in the Middle East. Yeah. And then again, yeah, there's never ending.
Yes. Yep. And there was also last week the whole Catalonia referendum.
Oh fuck, that was a shit show.
Yeah, it was a shit show. Apparently, I've been reading a lot into the referendum, and there's like two sides. So basically, there's like that Spain is persecuting the Catalonians, and there's a side saying that the Catalonians are leftist, funded by George Soros, and apparently 3/4 of Spain's radical mosques are in Catalonia.
Huh.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting.
I mean,
That Catalonia is basically Spain's Muslim capital.
yeah, that was a weird one. I didn't hear about that, but all I heard was that
Yeah.
they were having a referendum and the police just started beating the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, and it's interesting is that they want to leave Spain and then join the EU.
Ah, no, why?
They basically want their freedom and then basically sell their freedom.
Right.
Do you people want freedom or
What's the
what?
point of leaving Spain? I mean, you're already part of the EU with Spain.
Yeah, because Catalonia is Spain's richest province, and Spain takes most of the money they make in taxes. So most of the money that they make goes to Madrid.
Yeah. I guess that would have some hard feelings over that.
Yeah, and this reminds me a lot of 1971 in Pakistan. Basically, you know about the whole East and West Pakistan civil war?
No. Sorry.
So basically,
explain please.
So basically, in 1970, there was like an election in East Pakistan and West Pakistan. The East Pakistanis had the majority in the parliament. They had more seats than the other parties. But the East Pakistanis they didn't want the guy who was in charge of the main party in East Pakistan, Mujibur Rahman, to be prime minister because the establishment in West Pakistan hated him. The West Pakistan military hated him because he was a Bengali. And then basically because they wouldn't make him prime minister, they basically declared that they don't want to be part of Pakistan, and the Pakistan military just sent in 90,000 troops. They flew in 90,000.
It's a mild
So by the way,
overreaction.
yeah, for people who don't know, East Pakistan is modern day Bangladesh. So it was basically
there's a couple countries in between them.
Yeah, you got it was separated by 1,000 miles of India. So this could have been all been easily prevented if they just made the guy prime minister of Pakistan. That's all they had to do. Make him prime minister. They could have just avoided losing half the population, half of the economy. Because Bangladesh is small as fuck, but they have more people than Russia.
Really?
Yeah, they have more people than Russia because
what the fuck?
Bangladesh is in a really fertile region. It's like really fertile, the region. You can grow a lot of food.
Sure.
And I know that in the capital, the traffic lasts for like 3-4 days. The traffic.
Holy shit! Okay, I did not know that about. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the traffic lasts a long time in Bangladesh, and basically the only reason why the East Pakistanis got independence was because of India got involved. So they kind of went whole neocon when it came to East Pakistan.
Well, back when being a neocon kind of worked.
Yeah, they kind of worked, but yeah, they kind of. So Indira Gandhi was an interesting person because she gave the East Pakistanis their freedom and then basically just killed a bunch of people in East Punjab in the 80s. Then she got killed by her own guards. And she is very controversial for a lot of reasons. I hated her because she could have get rid of Pakistan in 71. She could have got rid of Pakistan just like that. She could have. She could have. Because until
Yeah,
the 80s, the capital was Karachi, which is like on the coast, and it's like near India. So they could have just
we could have taken it, I guess.
they could just they could have done it easily. And I
Yeah,
know like
before they got nuclear weapons, and now everything's a little bit more difficult.
the nuclear weapons in Pakistan, it was all because of the Saudis. Basically, during the Syrup regime, they sent spies to India, and the Chinese and Saudis helped them with the nuclear weapons program. And what's interesting is that the terms that the Saudi made is that in the future, if we want to buy nuclear weapons, you will sell them to us. What's the deal? So the
Yeah,
Saudis, whenever they want, they can buy the nukes from Pakistan.
I mean, if there's one country on earth I don't want to have nukes, it's Saudi and then Iran.
Yep.
And if Iran
Yeah.
gets them, Saudi's gonna be, oh shit, gotta protect ourselves.
Oh yeah.
So
It's not just that. Like I know that Pakistani generals. This was from WikiLeaks from years ago. They found documents where like Pakistani generals they sold nuclear secrets to North Korea and Iran for a quick buck.
wow.
Like they actually and I actually found one. I actually found a funny story. So basically, the CIA they were trying to infiltrate the North Korean nuclear weapons program, and apparently, like no, this was no, it was Iran, not North Korea. Basically, they actually made a fake nuclear weapons plan, and it ended up being all true. And they actually got to the Iranians' hands. So they tried sabotaging, tried giving false information, but they gave them correct information.
Yeah, whoops.
The CIA fucked
How
up
do
on
you
that
fuck
one.
up that badly? Holy shit.
Well, it's the CIA. They do fucked up
Sure.
things like the Bay of Pigs. So basically, we tried starting a revolution in Cuba, but most Cubans like Castro at the time. So it was like a failed invasion. Bay of Pigs.
Yeah. The CIA do like
Yeah.
to fuck with other people's countries, don't they?
Yeah. So what's also very interesting is that a lot of countries, especially third world like Pakistan and Africa, it's not the government who controls the country; it's the military. Like every Pakistani knows,
Sure.
it's the military that controls the country. So Pakistan had, I think, like about like four coups, like four coups. The first one was in the 50s, then the 60s, then the late 70s, then until then like the 1999 there was the fourth coup. And what's very funny is that the prime minister of that, who got taken out in that coup, he became prime minister like a few years ago and got kicked out by the Supreme Court a few months ago.
I mean, four coups
So,
is not exactly a good track record, is it?
yeah, so the former prime minister, the previous prime minister, Sharif, he was prime minister during the 90s, got kicked out by a coup. He ran in the elections like 4 years ago, became prime minister, and then a few months ago, he got kicked out by the Supreme Court because apparently about the Panama the whole
Ah,
Panama scandal. And
yeah.
apparently, the law that they used against him was made by the General Sia, the dictator I was talking about earlier, in the 80s. And Sharif actually got into politics because of General Sia. So
Hmm.
that was kind of ironic being killed by getting taken out by a law that was used by your mentor.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah. And what's very interesting is that Pakistan is allies with China, even though China persecutes their Muslim population.
Why?
But yeah,
Like trade deals or?
apparently, I have a few theories about this. Like one is that the Uyghurs, the problem is that like you look at the Palestinians, they're fighting the evil Jew, or you look at the other Muslim conflicts, they're fighting the evil Shia, the evil Jew. But
Yeah.
look at the Chinese. Like there's no Jew. There's maybe like a few Jews in China, but the Chinese government, they're not Jewish, they're not Muslim. And there's and the only people that actually care about the Uyghurs are the Turks, and that's because they're related. So it's interesting. Like China persecute Muslims, but Pakistan's friends with China, and the only reason why they're friends with China is because China hates India. That's the only reason.
I mean, good enough. Good enough reason.
Yeah. So basically, like the whole geopolitical situation in South Asia and East Asia is just a bloody shitstorm.
Yeah.
And it's and like nowadays, there's like border shootings every month in Kashmir to disputed territory.
Yeah, it wasn't like 300 people killed along the border in under a month at one point.
I I don't know which incident you're referring to because there's like so many.
Yeah, I'll have to
Like,
look into it
yeah,
just
so
to double
there's like
check.
always and there is, and I know that Bill Clinton he feared that it's gonna be Kashmir. That he feared that World War III was gonna start in Kashmir. That was like one of Bill Clinton's biggest fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I hate Bill Clinton, but he did make a good point. That's very likely World War III is gonna start in Kashmir.
Mm.
Yeah, and what's interesting that is that a lot of now what I actually like is that now Trump is trying to be more tough on Pakistan, but since but Trump is not necessarily popular in Pakistan for many reasons.
Yeah.
He's not very popular.
I mean,
He's not that popular in the Muslim world overall.
it's good to have a president who actually acknowledges the problems, but that does it have to be Trump though? Yeah. I think he's gonna like end up overstepping his bounds, and then some bad shit's gonna happen. But yeah, fingers
Maybe
crossed it
because
doesn't happen.
yeah, don't forget it was either Trump or Hillary, and Hillary
Sure, sure.
wanted like she kept going on about Russia, Russia, Russia.
Yeah,
But
don't shoot down Russian
I
planes,
noticed,
guys. Don't do that.
yeah, always, yeah, I noticed that a lot of people they always focus on Russia. Like I was watching this one documentary yesterday, but there was like this one New Zealand commentator named Thomas Loudon.
Not familiar with it.
Loudon, yeah, like he's like this like right wing New Zealander. I was watching a documentary who made about Antifa and one about the Russian alliance with Islam, and I know, and he sees Russia as the source of the problem.
Russian alliance with Islam. And didn't they during the late 90s they didn't have a full scale war, but they were having lots of terror attacks, so they pretty much just sent their military in and just
Yeah,
killed like massive
yeah,
amounts of civilians.
yeah. The Russians, yeah, like they had like in Chechnya, they basically bumped the living shit out of it. But now Chechnya just like, not Chechnya is like it is.
No, thank you.
Yes, so yes, so Chechnya is now kind of like a small Islamist shithole because remember like last year
Yeah,
the guy in charge of Chechnya he was starting to kill gay people.
he's locking them up in camps and electrocuting them and shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Egypt recently are starting to arrest gay people in Egypt.
Oh boy.
Yeah, apparently
You just think
there
there's
was
a
a
tiny bit of
concert where like
progress, and then it's
yeah I
all
know that
gone.
Egypt
Okay.
yeah I know that in Egypt there was like a concert and they had, like people were waving like gay pride flags, so they
Yeah.
arrested them, and then now that I've been seeing it on Twitter, they're cracking down on LGBT people in Egypt. They've been cracking down, and last week they were caught buying weapons from North Korea, the Egyptian military.
Oh, god damn it.
Yeah, people may or may not know about this, but North Korea is very popular in the Muslim world. They're popular. They're very
Because
popular for North
they're a threat to
Koreans
the West, or just because they're willing
because
to
they
do
see
some shit?
because they see North Koreans as fighting the evil American imperialism.
Ah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, so what? So there's also the situation in Syria. So I know that ISIS they're losing, and I was reading an article today. Now they're starting to a lot of the fighters are starting to surrender.
Yeah. I mean, have they? I haven't checked up on like a week, but last I saw, they'd nearly taken Raqqa. It was like 600 meters across. That was still ISIS territory, um,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
they're pushing down. So
yeah, I know there's a lot, like all the Syrian factions, like the Syrian rebels, the government, the Syrian Kurds. Because I do have my only problem with the Syrian Kurds is that they're communists.
yes, they
Yeah,
have a lot of links with the PKK, don't they?
yeah, but I think that when the Kurds get a country, it's not going to, they're not able to be unified at this point because you have the Iraqi Kurds who are democratic, you have the Turkish and Syrian Kurds who are communist, and you got the Iranian
The
Kurds. I don't know
Iranians.
what their ideology is.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think
And
the
then
Iraqi Kurds is the way to go. But yeah.
yep, I think that for the Middle East, it has to be balkanized. We have to balkanize the Middle East.
Yes, yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, so basically, we got to divide it based on the religions, the tribes, the ethnicities.
I mean, last time we carved it up, we didn't do that. Well, I mean, you ended up with
Yes.
Kurdistan being split 4 ways, and Jordan, Israel, and Palestine.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's
All
a
that
fucking
shit.
shit show. I mean,
Yeah, that
ISIS
was.
makes a big deal about how the border between Syria and Iraq shouldn't exist because it was put in place by the imperialist West,
Yeah.
and they're like tearing down all the barbed wire on the border.
Yeah. What I found interesting is that when Al Baghdadi released that video, it was around the time of the Kurdish referendum. And I thought that was like perfect timing. That ISIS found out that the leader was still alive.
Wait,
So
Baghdadi's still alive?
yeah, he's still alive.
Shit, alright.
Yeah. I
Man, I
like the
have been
day.
out of the loop. Holy
Yeah,
crap, okay.
the day after the Kurdish referendum, he released a video saying that ISIS is still strong.
Oh, wow. Alright, I thought he was dead in Raqqa. Okay.
No,
That's,
he's not dead. When I think about that, he's basically the Fidel Castro of the Middle East. Basically, because we tried killing Fidel Castro like thousands of times. Like we tried breaking his cigars,
sure,
trying to
yeah.
brainwash his and all that. And Fidel Castro cheated like so many assassination attempts.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, what, Baghdadi's
Yep.
up
So
to, we thought he was dead, is it 3 or 4 times now?
yeah, 3 4 times. It turns out he wasn't. So
Uh,
what's interesting is that after the division of the Middle East, there was like a unification war in the Arabian Peninsula, and one of those tribes was the Al Saud tribe. So, and during the unification wars, the reason why the British supported the Al Saud tribe during the unification wars in the 20s is because he wasn't anti-British. That's the only reason why they supported the Saudis, the British.
yeah, it didn't work
Yeah, I
out
know.
well.
I know there was another like who who had his own country called the Kingdom of Hijaz. He like the British supported him during World War One, and then he was like, "Ah, we won. We should unify Arabia." And he was like, and he told the British, fuck you, fuck your plan. I want the whole Middle East for myself." The Saudis they kicked him out when they conquered Mecca, and they exiled him to Jordan. I know that his son was the king at the time of Jordan.
I mean, once you do take Mecca, you are pretty much untouchable from
Yeah, yeah.
your neighbors anyway.
Whoever has Mecca controls Islam, Sunni Islam at least, apparently.
Yeah,
And then,
I mean, you
a lot
can't
of
have
people,
a artillery battle over the Kaaba, can you?
yeah,
Because
you can't.
like, if a US bomb ended up in the Grand Mosque, then holy
If that
shit.
happens, if that happens, World War III would start, and we just
Yeah,
destroy it.
it's
Yeah. What's interesting is that the current king of Jordan and like the guy who got kicked out of the Hijaz, the royal family of Jordan and their tribe, they're supposedly direct descendants of Muhammad.
oh yeah, didn't they gave him control over Jordan because
Yeah,
they were supposed
because
to give him Arabia,
yeah,
but Yeah, that was their
Yeah,
ship. So
there were treaties. One of his sons got Iraq. His other son got Jordan, a Hashemite tribe, which apparently they came direct descendants of the Quraysh tribe. And I found it interesting. Nobody questioned that the Saudis basically kicked out Muhammad's descendants out of Mecca.
yeah,
Nobody ever questioned that. They kicked out the descendants of the Holy Prophet.
yeah. And now you have a bunch of people claiming to be his descendants and trying to
Yeah,
build their own caliphate.
yeah. I know that the Saudis, they don't claim to be descendants, and like the Saudi king, this is from one day. This I remember this from one of these live streams that Isaac Cohen did with Sargon. Is that the Saudi
Yeah.
king, he can't declare himself caliph because he's not a Hashemite.
Huh.
Yeah, that's what the Saudi king can't declare himself a caliph. But I know the only reason why the Ottomans were able to call themselves caliphs, despite being not being Arabs, was because they had guns, and the Arabs had swords.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's
so
always a good start.
they were like, Allah gave us this, gave us the guns, and you still have swords. Looks like Allah's with us. Yes. Yeah. So I found it. Like, you ever watch the movie called Lawrence of Arabia?
No, my dad's a big fan, but I've never gotten around to watching it.
It's a really long movie. It's like 3 hours long, but it's a really good movie. It talks about the Arabian campaign in the Middle East during World War One, and
Yeah.
man, the, like in the beginning of the film, we saw Arabs. They were just using swords against planes. They were
I
using
mean,
trying to fight planes. Which
it
I
does
found well,
does the concept of like was it beta applied to technology or is it just Islam? Because if so, that
no,
could
it was
explain.
no, it's just that it's not the Rita thing. That's mostly like a Wahhabi concept. The Rita thing, the whole innovation thing.
Yeah,
The problem was that most of the Arabs lived in deserts because most of the Arabs that were fighting the Ottomans, they were mostly like from the deserts, not from the cities, like Damascus, Baghdad.
yeah,
It was mostly it was like the people that were living in the deserts that fought the Ottomans. And what's and I found it interesting that during both world wars, Germany has crappy allies.
sure, sure.
They always pick the bad allies. Like in World War One, you were allied with the sick man of Europe. You allied with the sick man of Europe. And and I found it interesting that in World War Two, Mussolini told Hitler, "I need a few more years to prepare before we start World War Two." And Hitler was like 9.
And of course, backstabbing the Russians was fucking lethal.
Yep,
And because you wanted oil, of course.
yep, yeah. And my English teacher from high school told me this one lifetime advice: never, ever, ever invade Russia.
True, true. Was
Like he would tell us this all the time.
you have 3 months to reach Moscow, and then the winter hits.
Yeah, then the winter hits. Yeah, and the winter in that year was actually the worst of the century in the last
I
few
mean,
decades.
that's inconvenient.
And the problem was that even if they took Moscow, they would just the Russians would rather see it burn. Like they did it when
True.
Napoleon invaded.
Napoleon did that.
They people in history would ever conquered Moscow. Only 2 empires.
It's the Kievan Rus and
No, Kiev and Rus was Russia. The Polish Lithuania, and the Mongols.
true. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Mongols are good at that kind of thing.
yeah. And if you think about it, the Kurds are like the Polish of the Middle East in a way, divided by a few
Yeah,
countries trying to get their freedom.
everyone fucks with them, and their state kind of disappeared for and
Yeah, the
yeah, a
state
really long
disappeared.
time.
Yeah, the state disappeared, and yeah. So the Poles, 100 years ago, well, 100 years ago, the Poles were still not a country yet, and now they're the only thing defending Western civilization. How the tables have turned
Mm.
with the Poles. Poland
I
can into
did
space.
I did like Poland because they're pretty much their entire population understands that you can hate Nazis and hate communists at the same time, which
Yeah,
we
yeah,
down here haven't quite figured out yet, but
yeah,
give us time.
yeah. Hopefully. So, does Antifa exist in New Zealand?
I didn't think they did, but then I was walking after the mock exams I had recently. I was walking down to the supermarket and saw one of the banners on a light traffic light pole. So apparently they do. I've never seen them do a violent protest yet. Yeah, but I don't think they really have the presence necessary to fuck shit up properly.
Well, New Zealand's like in the middle of nowhere, and you're like
Yeah,
overshadowed by big Australia.
yeah. Well, if anything's happening down the side of the world, it's happening in Australia, and we just watch and laugh mostly. But on the flip side, we definitely have the environment that could breed them. Or super, super left wing, and my school was fucking crazy social justice land. But yeah, haven't had anything too extraordinary happen yet, thank God. And I guess if it did, they'd be able to get away with it because, I mean, our police don't even carry guns here. So, and I think our last terror attack was it's like 50 years ago. So we're not prepared if they do try anything. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of Sargon of Akkad's videos lately, and what's very interesting, really good, really awesome guy. He talked about how like you're basically living through Weimar Germany in America right now, and he does like we see like the neo Nazis and the communists fighting each other in the streets,
Yeah.
and
But
then
wasn't like
basically
didn't the entire of Munich fall under communist control, and then the fascists turned up and everyone hailed them as saviors, and that's kind of how they got their head start.
basically the communists were actually the most popular in Germany at the time. The Nazis were the second most popular until the 30s. Then the Reichstag happened.
Yeah.
And then basically Hitler blamed on the communists. And then basically, what's funny is that the German government thought like they were able to control Hitler by making him chancellor. They actually thought they could control it by giving him power.
Yeah. That worked out so well.
Yeah, that worked out so and this is a side fact. Like during the 1936 Olympics, there was like two events that embarrassed Nazi Germany.
Wasn't
there was
it, Jesse Owens kicked the
yeah. And it was actually another event, field hockey. And guess who they were facing in field hockey?
Who?
India. They lost 7-1 in field hockey. India.
Top notch. Wait,
I think my grandmother
this was Berlin Olympics, right? Yeah, Berlin. And then Munich was the one where the kidnapping happened, right?
Yeah. So I found it funny last week that Trump called Kim Jong-un Rocket Man.
I mean, it's funny. It's also terrifying, but it's still funny.
Yeah, funny.
Like,
yep. So I know that I do think that we had to invade North Korea eventually. We can't just let it stay there.
Oh yeah, they have like 2 million people in legit, like not death camps, but gulag style work camps.
Yeah.
They are one of the most awful regimes on earth, but
yeah.
You know, you got nukes, you can do whatever you want.
You have gulags.
But yeah, one day they're gonna have to be dealt with.
Yeah, one day. I know that even the Chinese are starting to get annoyed with them.
Yeah, didn't the Chinese stop importing coal imports or something?
Yeah, they start importing coal, and then they might be shutting down North Korean restaurants in China soon.
That's a start. It's a start. And again, if we ever do end up invading, it's not really the West who's going to end up fucked over. It's the South Koreans, because they have enough artillery that's sold for a good half the city.
Yeah. So the South Koreans, the military is more than powerful enough than to beat the North Koreans. Seoul is so close to the border. That's like the dangerous thing. It's like
Yeah.
so close to the border, and we have like a shitload of troops there. The Japanese are nearby, and and the very interesting thing is that the Koreans and Japanese they hated each other for the last 100 years because the Japanese colonized Korea basically during World War II. They did a lot of
Yeah.
brutal. They did a lot of
Yeah,
brutal shit in Korea.
wasn't it a combination of Korea and China? The Japanese killed like 50 million civilians, I think it was.
Yeah, like they kill civilians. They actually have their own death camp. Well, unit I think 731. Like I
Is
was
that the one
watching a
where
video.
they were like dipping people's arms in icy water until they like froze them through to do experiments on people with frostbite and
Yeah,
shit, and like
yeah,
testing grenades on live humans
yeah,
because
yeah.
those guys were fucked up.
Yeah, people only tend to think about the Holocaust when it comes to World War II, but there was also the genocide in East Asia. And I know that
Yeah.
I was actually reading it. Basically, Japan basically wanted to set up dictatorships in all of Asia, like India, Indonesia. They tried invading India, but India, we had the army was 2 million men, so
Yeah, that'd do it.
yeah, that, like,
They
yeah,
they tried to take Eastern Russia, didn't they? But
yeah. They
the
they
Russians
tried
had a bunch of
invading
people there.
Russia. They tried invading Russia, but the Russians beat them, so they signed a non-aggression pact.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then to Nanking.
yeah. It was. You know what's interesting is that during World War II, the U.S. set up relations with the Saudis.
Really?
Yeah, so it was FDR who set up these relations with the Saudi king because so they during World War II.
Hmm. So did they help out with like the North Africa campaign, or
No, they
was that
didn't
just
fight
like
militarily. They didn't fight militarily because they still didn't had a military yet. Like
all right?
we would consider a military yet. Sold oil.
I bet nowadays don't the Saudis spend like the second most on Earth on their military?
Yeah, they spend a lot of money on their military. Like they're currently bombing shit in Yemen right now. Like there's like
True.
if you
True.
if you read what's going on in Yemen, like millions are starving, schools
Chloride,
destroyed,
yeah,
very little.
chloride somewhere.
I was reading that it would take at least 70 years to redevelop the country.
Yeah, and this is on top of the fact that Osama bin Laden's Mujahideen kind of fucked South Yemen up as well because they were
Yeah,
all
I know that.
looking to become
I know
communists.
that. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. North Yemen was communist during the. Remember correctly. And I know that after the Saudis started bombing Yemen, ISIS started showing up in Yemen. They control like a few villages in Yemen.
Yeah. Is Yemen majority Sunni or Shia?
Yemen is majority Sunni, but there's a Shia
Okay.
minority.
All right. All right.
Like what's interesting is that in Saudi Arabia, most of the oil is in the east, the eastern provinces. But the eastern provinces are mostly Shia,
Huh.
which is why, which is one of the reasons why they feel like the Iranians could like try starting a separatist movement because they don't want Iran
Yeah,
controlling the oil.
that
So
would be absolutely lethal for them. I mean,
yeah,
I would support that, except then Iran gets more power, and
yeah. What I would do is like I would basically give Mecca back to I would just basically give like Western Saudi back to Jordanians, basically divide the rest of Saudi based on tribes.
yeah. I mean,
And
Jordan does seem to be the most level-headed people around at the moment.
they'll I know they're quote unquote liberal, but I know
Yeah,
that in Jordan, like they have arrested people who criticize the king. They have arrested
yeah.
people.
It's a comparative thing. They're, they're not great,
Mm.
but yeah, the best we have, I suppose.
They're the best. Yeah, until we get the Kurds. When we finally get
Yeah,
Kurdistan, then that'll be the solution.
yeah. Here's hoping.
Yeah, and I found that interesting that the first king of Saudi, he had like 40 wives.
Wait, 40.
Yes.
Okay then. That's
Yeah, he had a lot of wives because when he first unified the country, he married a girl from every tribe to unify the country. So every tribe has like some
wow.
blood of the royal family, and I think the royal family has like 2,000 people now.
Holy shit! All right.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
that's fuck. All right.
Dude.
And
Yeah.
only in the Middle East. Only
Yeah.
in the Middle East.
Yeah. And I found it interesting that the all Saudi princes, when they come to the West, they drink oil. Like they drink, no, not drink oil, drink alcohol.
Huh.
If they drink oil, that'd be weird. But there's a
I
lot when
mean,
some Saudi princes. So sometimes when they come to the West, they sometimes get caught drinking alcohol, and then the Muslim world doesn't talk about it.
didn't one
Like,
of them
look, the heads of
get publicly
Islam.
flogged like that recently?
What?
Didn't one of the Saudi princes get like publicly flogged for? I'm not sure if it was drinking alcohol, but he fucked up in
I
some way.
I know he fucked up, and then he got executed.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, legalized driving for women in Saudi, but there's
Yeah, that's
still a lot. Yeah, slowly, but there's still a lot of harassment towards female drivers. Like now, people are harassing them.
yeah, and guardianship laws are still there, so we're still a
Yeah, but
long
you
way
still have.
off.
Yeah, but have you watched any of those clips where you see like Saudi clerics just talking about the craziest shit?
Ah, yeah,
Like there's like
dude,
this,
Isaac Cohen's so good
there's
for
like this
that.
one, this is like this one Saudi guy. He was talking about how the world was flat, and he used like a plane. You fly a plane, keep it in the air. They're like that it will end up in China if it just hovers in the air. It was like what? And I found it interesting is that only in the history of the Nobel Science Prizes, only 3 Muslims have won any in Nobel
Really?
Science. Yeah, only
Hmm.
three, because most of the Nobel Science Prizes were Jews.
I
And the
mean,
Muslims,
like it's probably not a conspiracy. Uh,
yeah.
so why do we think that is? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess being, I mean,
Yeah,
comparatively poor
yeah,
countries mostly,
yeah. Like I know that
except for the US.
yeah, I know that one of them was a Turkish Muslim, the other was a Pakistani, but the Pakistani was an Ahmadi, and the Ahmadis are very well hated in Pakistan.
Yeah,
And Ahmadis are a sect of Islam which is like more liberal. Like they think that Muhammad, I might be butchering this because I don't know that much about the Ahmadi faith, but they believe that Muhammad is not the final prophet,
huh.
which is why they hate it. But I don't know much about. I might be butchering it. But I don't know that much about the faith, about the Ahmadis. But
Definitely something I
Pakistanis,
should look into. This.
yeah, they claim him as his own scientist, even though they hated him for his religion. It's like really weird. And you look at the Muslim world. The reason why they don't have much science prizes is because they don't really invest in science. They're more obsessed with the religion.
True, that doesn't really help when you could be building schools and universities, but instead you build more and more mosques.
Yeah,
I
even
guess
if
like
you,
Romania and Eastern Europe have that problem with Christianity as well.
hmm,
Like they can't afford hospitals or schools because they're building a multi-billion-dollar cathedral.
yeah, yeah. And what's interesting is that one of the most highest-paying occupations in the Muslim world is being a Muslim scholar. That's like one of the most highest-paying jobs you could ever get. And Sargon,
Oh,
he compared
incentive.
this to Sargon. He made a funny comparison. He compared it to gender studies major, like Islamic studies and gender studies.
I mean, both built on lies, I guess.
Yeah, and I know, and you know that in Egypt, this is one university called Al Azhar. Basically, if you go there, you become like you basically are set for life as a Muslim scholar. Because people that go there, they make millions
Whoa.
because they're like so knowledgeable in Islam. And if you ever see like Muslim televangelists, they are rich. They are fucking rich. Like they are fucking rich. These televangelists,
They also
and
say this fucking hilarious, but unintentionally hilarious things as well.
yeah, a lot of if a lot of crazy shit happens, and I find that the Muslim mindset, like especially with the Holocaust, is very confusing. Like you have like half the Muslims that say the Holocaust never happened. The other happened. The other half said it did happen. I'm like, did it happen or not? According to the
Yeah.
Muslims. Like I talked to like, my family. They are like my relatives in Pakistan. They're Holocaust deniers.
Hmm.
Yeah, like my relatives in Pakistan, they're Holocaust deniers. I met people that said the Holocaust was over exaggerated. And then I see like like ex-Muslims online telling me that that the Muslims believe that it happened.
Hmm.
It's like they can't keep a single narrative on the Holocaust.
And of course,
They're
there
not
are
like
the ones who really, really hate Israel who say, we don't think it did happen, but if only it had.
yeah. And what's interesting is that the Muslim Brotherhood helped with the Holocaust during World War II. The Muslim Brotherhood,
Didn't they like recruited SS members from the?
yeah, yeah, they recruited some Arab Muslims, a lot of Bosnian Muslims, and like one of the guys who created the Muslim Brotherhood, he actually had a meeting with Hitler.
Was this what was it, the Grand Mufti of
Yeah, the
Jerusalem?
Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. Yeah, he helped with World War II. I know that he made a lot of propaganda for the Nazis. Like he took a lot of Quran verses. Like for
Hmm.
example, the Jews are like one example. Like the Jews are descendants of the apes and
Yeah,
pigs. As one was the others
yeah.
that at the day of
There's a lot of
judgment.
that on Arab TV.
Yeah, there's another one that says that at the day of judgment, a Jew will be hiding behind a tree, and the Jew will say, "Oh, kill the Jew behind me."
Yeah, and some
Yes. Yeah.
after World War II as well, a lot of the war criminals they either went to South America or the Middle East,
Yeah.
and
And, you know, it's
a
interesting.
bunch
The
of them
Grand
were
Mufti.
harbored by the Syrians.
Yeah. And you know the Egyptians also had. The Egyptians actually had one of the top scientists. Actually. Yeah, they actually did. I found it interesting. The Egyptians had one of the top scientists until he was assassinated by the Israelis.
Well, that's the thing, I guess.
Yeah, and I
Um,
found it interesting. Yeah, I found it interesting. After World War II, the Grand Mufti he was spared, and then in 1946 he said he basically supported the creation of Pakistan in 1946 when he met with Jinnah, the guy who created the country. Like this is my pin tweet, the meeting
yeah,
between the Grand. Yeah, and what's very interesting is that only 10% of Indian Muslims voted against partition, even those who stayed in India. And that the majority of people that like the people that created Bangladesh, the guy who created Bangladesh, he voted for the creation of Pakistan. He was an activist for Pakistan in the 40s.
well,
Yeah,
how the tables have turned.
yeah, it was always turned, and and what's really what's interesting is that India for most of the Cold War was actually socialist.
Really, you don't really hear about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, people don't really hear about that. So Gandhi, he was a socialist. He was a hardcore socialist. Yeah, he was. Yeah, and I found and what's interesting is that the only reason why we have Pakistan is because of World War II. That is the only reason why Pakistan exists. The only reason.
Yes, well, World War II was
Yeah, because
the biggest fuck
yeah,
up in
don't
history, I'd say.
yes, because in 1939, Gandhi was against World War II, so he was arrested, and his party basically was divided, so it became weak. So, and a lot of the Muslims in his party basically left the party for Jinnah's party, the Muslim League, and they started winning elections. And they told the British, if you give us Pakistan, we'll help you recruit troops. So the Muslim League helped recruit, got Muslims to sign up for the Indian Army. But they got Pakistan. So, yeah, World War II, a big fuck up.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just
Yeah, but,
the shit show. Also, like, what's it, 6 million, well, no, 12 million the Holocaust, 62 million on Stalin, 50 million because of the Japanese, and then
mm,
it led to Mao getting in charge. So
mm,
also the worst genocides in human history all happened around that time.
mm. Yeah. Oh yeah, and oh yeah, Pakistan did a few genocides. Like in that, like I told you about the Civil War. I think about 3 million
Yeah.
Bengalis died.
Shit.
Yeah, and the
Wow.
U.S.
Okay.
supported Henry Kissinger, who was a big douche, and actually our most powerful Secretary of State. He supported the genocide. He actually did.
And he's still in the government today.
I know he's still alive, and when I know correctly, Hitchens wanted him to die so he could write his eulogy, like a really like an FU kind of way.
Uh,
Yep.
I wish Hitchens was still around.
Yeah. Yep. And so, what do you think about Kyrgyzstan?
It was fun when it started. I think it's been taken over a bit, and
Yeah.
the meme's pretty much dead at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. It was
but
pretty.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I started
Yep.
out on the internet with that meme.
Yeah.
But it's over now, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I know the guy who created the frog. He's suing people now. The guy who made the frog.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he? He was like taking down what's Baked Alaska and Mike Cernovich's stuff because they used Pepe in
Mm.
like in the images.
Mm. Yeah. And
Well, I imagine this won't at all backfire, and the internet definitely won't, destroy everything he's built. It's fine.
mm,
Never happened before.
yep. But we all know who won the Great Meme War.
Indeed.
Yep. And what else is there? So we got the Middle East down. We got Catalonia down. We got North Korea down. What else is there? Um, let's see here. So one more thing I found it interesting. So Sargon, he's making a big joke on Facebook lately about Germany being a mistake.
I mean, they just don't seem to be
Because
able to learn that authoritarianism doesn't work, no matter which side of the political divide it is. But
yeah, and man, like I know there's like so many fucking refugees in Europe right now. It's like I think it's like 2 million right now in
yeah,
Europe.
about that.
Yeah, and holy shit, and like a lot. I know it's interesting is that Gaddafi, he said he was the only reason why people are not flooding to Europe right now. When he was alive, he said, "I am the only reason why people are not flooding into Europe. So keep me in power."
Well, it seems he might have been a little bit right, because a good deal of the ones in Europe do come from Libya and Morocco, don't they?
Yeah, and what I find it interesting. I've been reading the last year is like how racist the North African Arabs are. They are like fucking racist. Like I have a video plan, but then I'm just like I'm too lazy, so I never got to record it. So in Arabic, the word for black person is slave. So
Oh,
every time,
okay.
like it actually is like the N word, but no one talks about the fact that Arabs call black people slaves.
That's wow. Okay, that's just a tad bit racist. That's yeah. Then
Yes,
wow.
and that's
Okay.
and that's because like when they keep the Muslim empires, like they they enslaved like so many black people, and I know that in Islam, Muhammad hated black people.
Huh.
Like, he hated because apparently there's like so many references to like how the color of black being bad. For example, the Kaaba used to be white, whiter than milk, and then the sins of man made it black.
Wow.
Yeah, and he talked about like how like he hated dogs, especially black dogs.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean, it's a
that
very
was
very
interesting.
Arab supremacist religion.
It's Arab supremacist because
Like,
you can only
isn't
pray in Arabic.
isn't in Saudi like foreigners aren't required to, like foreign women aren't required to wear the niqab or anything because
But
they're not Arab, so they're not
yeah,
like expected to
I think only
understand.
I think yeah. But like the non-Muslims are not allowed to go to Mecca, but there have been like a few instances, like for like a documentary and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that parts of the Kaaba is apparently was based on pagan roots.
I
No
mean,
shit
wasn't it?
about this.
Didn't the old pagan tribes used to pray to the Kaaba, and
Yeah,
then when Muhammad turned up, since
yeah,
everyone was only with him because he was murdering everyone, he was like, right, we're all
yeah.
praying towards this as a way of trying to get them on board.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that Allah was originally a pagan god in the Mesopotamian
Really?
powers. Yeah, I find it interesting. I'll have to look it up later, but apparently he was originally a god from Iraq. Yeah, yeah, and then
Nice.
it's very interesting. Like what's very interesting is that Medina used to be half Jewish. Like used to be half Jewish, and like I actually remember this one funny story about one of his neighbors in Medina. Basically, he had a neighbor who always put shit in front of his house every day. Like, and then basically his neighbor is put one day. So Muhammad got worried and said, "Yo, where are you? Where's my shit?" It's like, "Yo, where's the guy doing some shit in front of my house?" And apparently, the guy who threw shit in his house apparently got sick, then converted. Man, these man, have you heard about the 50 Signs of Day of Judgment? They're pretty funny.
No, I haven't. Enlighten me. Ever seen
Okay,
anything
I'm
like
going to get it. I'm going to get
book shit?
what it is. I get a link. It's pretty funny. Where is it? Where is it? So, trying to find it. Okay, I'm sending you the link.
Okay. Sweet.
Yep. So you gotta be like some. It's just like pretty funny. So, like, so look at number 5. It says the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem. And I'm like,
Oh,
didn't they lose it like half a century ago? Like, how does
just
that work?
maybe. Two large groups of Muslims will fight in a war. I'm pretty sure that's happened just a few times.
Like, I think these came from the Hadiths that came like a few hundred years after Muhammad died. Like, I found the whole Hadith thing very weird. And you look at number 9, a peace agreement between the Muslims and non-Muslims from the yellow race. Except that the Chinese are persecuting Muslims.
Yeah, that might be a bit far off.
Yep. And you gotta look at the ones in the future is number 27, the Muslim conquest of Rome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Didn't they already sack Rome like ages ago?
They sacked it. Like I know they sacked it a few times, but they never conquered it. Oh yeah, and
Wait, Jesus Christ
I
will
know
ascend into Damascus and pray behind the Mahdi.
the Mahdi. So basically in Islam, there's gonna like for the day of judgment, there's gonna be like this one guy who's gonna reunify the Muslim world, bring us back to righteousness. Now he's gonna fight with Jesus, Imam Mahdi. So that's actually one of the biggest difference between Sunnis and Shias is like, but the interpretation of the Mahdi. So the Sunnis believe that he's not born yet, while the Shias believe he's already born, but he's not going to reveal himself until Day of Judgment.
So is this where the Mahdi army got the name from? Like the death squatters in Iraq?
I don't know. I actually don't know. And you look at 43, an Abyssinian leader with thin shins to destroy the Kaaba. Abyssinia was like the original name for Ethiopia. So basically, they're saying a black man is going to destroy the Kaaba. So that's like another example of how like Muhammad hated blacks.
Yeah, just a bit. He's only gonna destroy the most holy place, and yeah. Anyway, 44,
Yeah.
a huge cloud of smoke, a huge.
I never understood that. Maybe like pollution. I don't know.
Like
There's
a really
no one
big
recommends
explosion.
a big explosion, and there will be no one left on Earth saying Allah, unless you just get YouTube. Just get a YouTube video, play it on loop.
It'd stave off the
If everyone
internet.
died,
Easy.
if everyone's died, just put on YouTube, play it in a loop, get like a generator. Yes, so like there's also a lot of crazy.
And this is some weird shit.
Yeah, this is like some really funny shit. The 50 signs.
Man.
Oh yeah, and I know that there's a theory right now, but a lot of clerics that the Antichrist, he is going to be an Israeli.
As it doesn't surprise me that they think that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm looking at the present ones, like naked, destitute, bare-shoe shepherds will compete in building tall buildings. I haven't seen any naked people building tall buildings.
Illegal sexual intercourse will become widespread.
Except that we've seen a lot of cases of this happening in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
Homosexuality. Like we saw this with the Greeks, where Christianity didn't exist yet, Islam didn't exist yet, and they were already being homos, the Greeks. But now Greece is the poorest country in one of the poorest countries.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
EU might have slightly fucked them over.
Yep. And like a lot of the refugees are actually going through Greece. So that's like a lot of the resources.
That too doesn't really help.
Yeah. Yeah. Trustworthiness will be lost when authority is given to those who don't deserve it. That's like every single ruler in history doesn't deserve the power. There's like a lot of people.
I mean, the only ones who can really be trusted with power are the ones who don't want it. Isn't that the saying?
Yeah. So, so I know that with France, like Paris is just a war zone. Like 10,000 troops in the streets in Paris.
Yeah, like when I was there just after the Paris attacks, and the first thing we saw was we got off the plane and there was a squad of people with like machine guns walking around the airport. And
Yeah, and
on the way out, they found, I think it was soap in my mum's bag, and they thought it was plastic explosives, and they were pointing guns at us and shit. But yeah, it's just become a shit show over there.
Yeah, but now they're just starting to use cars nowadays. Like there was like every few weeks, there's like a car attack. Like they stopped using bombs, now they're using cars. So what are they going to use next?
I mean, knives are already a widespread occurrence as well.
Like I have this one funny idea. Let's build a wall around the Middle East and make the Middle East pay for it.
I mean, Saudi Arabia has their own wall, I guess.
Yeah, they have a wall on the border with Iraq. They have a wall.
I mean, haven't they taken zero refugees from the entire conflict there, even though they have like a small
they take
city made out of air-conditioned tanks?
Oh yeah, like yeah, near Mecca, there's like this village with like so many tents, air conditioned. That's for the Hajj. Haven't taken any refugees. I know that the
Hmm.
Jordanians have, the Lebanese, the Turks.
Yeah, yeah.
They take
Jordan
it.
and Turkey have taken in like 2 million each.
And you know what I found interesting is that the Turks they usually like this very like I feel like a 7-year-old girl for their prop like to talk about the Syrian civil war. Bana Alabed. You know about this?
Yeah. Um. But is she the one? Is her father one of the rebels, right?
Yeah, her father's one of the rebels. Like I knew that Erdogan he flew a helicopter into Syria to save her and her mom, and flew it back to Turkey and basically used as propaganda against Assad.
Nice.
What's
That.
interesting is that the Turks are now starting to become more allied with the Iranians, and then the Iranians fund Assad, but Assad, and Assad is their ally, but the Turks hate Assad. It's like
Yeah.
when it comes to alliances in the Middle East, it's like so confusing. There's no consistency.
Isn't
Like
some Assad and Alawites? Because
what?
isn't Assad and Alawites like the ones who believe the 12th Imam has already come and like
Yeah,
lived
they're
faithfully?
Shias. Yeah, the Trojan Moms, that's a Shia belief.
Yeah, because aren't they like an oppressed group in Iran?
No, Iran, no, the majority of Iranians are Shias.
The subsection of the Shia, aren't they?
Oh no, that's the mainstream thought. The Trojan Moms, that's mainstream Shia.
Yeah. I'll I'll have to go double check something after this, but anyway.
Yeah, they're mainstream, the Twelvers. And what's interesting is that the Iranians are Shia, but they ally with the Muslim Brotherhood, who are Sunni. Like, it's like really
Yeah.
weird, these alliances. It's like no
Well,
consistency.
enemy of my enemy deserves to get high tech weaponry.
Yep. And the Russians have spent a lot of money in the Syrian civil war. They spend like so much money. They have so much sanctions.
Yeah.
Like, guys, and like I don't think the Syrian civil war is going to end anytime soon, though.
Nah. As long as
Odds.
Assad's around. I mean, even after Assad's gone, the rebels will
Yeah.
probably
The
start.
problem is that we can't get the problem is that we can't get rid of Assad at this point because all the others in Syria they all like Assad, all the Shias.
Yeah,
So we can't.
unfortunately.
And as far as I know, the Christians in Syria, because it's like the factions. Like, I actually have a friend whose brother fought for the Kurds last year,
Wow.
and then
Well, props
basically
to
he
him.
left. They basically not exactly. Basically, but after he left the Kurds because he hated them. He started to hate them. He
Really?
he started to hate them.
So he was with
Basically.
the YPG, was he?
I forgot which one. I forgot which one. I think it was Iraqi Kurds. Him again. So basically, he went to Germany, and then he was like in Germany. They took away his passport for like 6 months. So then my friend and his brother they became anti-Kurdish because of their communists. Apparently, because of
Yeah,
how
well,
Kurds are communists, and he called them Iranians in denial. Like the Kurds are related to Iranians. They're related. Like they do have they are ethnic cousins, Iranians and the Kurds.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is an interesting one.
yeah,
Because, I mean, I don't know much about the goings on with the Kurds, but from what I have heard, they've got massive distribution problems because everything has to be like signed by like the top of every institution. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and that they have not that many resources. And then so I know that like a lot of Muslims don't support the creation of Kurdistan. It's because the Israelis support it. They think it's like a
yeah,
Jewish conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's like, especially Erdogan, he's been doubling down on it. He's blaming Mossad for everything, for the whole Kurdish thing.
Wasn't he saying that because someone had an Israeli flag at one of the rallies, that means Netanyahu was conspiring with Mossad to make it happen?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, they were. Yep. So, and like, did you saw Isaac Cohen's recent video about Iraq War?
No, I haven't
He
seen
was
it yet.
yeah, he was talking about like how like talking about the how neoconservatism like saved Kuwait, and he actually talked about like how Saddam Hussein knew about the power of the Jew because during when he invaded Kuwait, he attacked Israel because so that the Muslims couldn't because a lot of countries that the U.S. recruited to fight Saddam in the Gulf War were Muslim countries, and then Bush had to tell the Israelis not to attack Iraq.
Hmm.
So Saddam knew about that the only thing that Muslims hate the most is the Jew. Jewish hatred of Islam that actually got me to question it because to me it never made sense because every single Jewish person I met was nice.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty much
But they
every
got
Jew I've ever met, nice people, and they're generally a lot smarter than me. So yeah,
yeah. And what's very interesting is that the Muslim world they are really conspiratorial. Like, do you know about Alex Jones?
yeah, yeah. Of course.
Basically, replaces religion with Islam, and that's basically everyone in the Middle East. Like for one example, I made this one example on Twitter. The Israelis are putting chemicals in the Quran. Hey.
I mean, I found I found one thing when I was making a video on this where
Yeah.
people were claiming that they were purposely infecting prostitutes with STDs and sending them into the Middle East to try and give Muslims like AIDS and shit.
I don't even think that I don't even think there is an AIDS epidemic in the Middle East.
Yeah, but they seem to. I'm pretty sure there's not, but you know,
Yeah, and I know that
you've
in
got to link the
Pakistan,
Jews to it somehow.
I know that in Pakistan, there's a lot of people who are actually vaccinators because
Oh,
they think that the West will poison the vaccinations.
isn't that because when the US was tracking down Osama, they posed as vaccination teams, didn't they?
Mm, yeah, that. But they think that because all the medicine comes from like all these vaccines come from the West, and like they think like the Jews control the West. Like this is
Okay.
funny. This is funny. The Muslims, like a lot of Muslims I talk to, they all say the Jews control the money. I'm like, the Arabs control more money than the Jews. Have you looked at Saudi Arabia? They control so much money.
True. I mean,
Like
they
they
control.
don't think yeah, they don't think about this. The Jew controls money. So does the Arab. They control a shitload of money.
I mean, they've got a shitload of Twitter. Was it Twitter stocks?
Yeah, yeah. It's 5%, but that's actually considered a lot considering how many people have stocks. 5% is a
Yeah.
lot. It's a Saudi prince. Like he has more than the guy who owns Twitter.
Yeah, it's just a small thing to be raising your eyebrow over, but
And yeah, and I found it interesting that a lot of you know about the whole grooming gangs in England?
yeah, and Rotherham and Luton
Yeah,
mostly.
rather, they're all Pakistani. They're all Pakistani. They're always Pakistani.
I mean, Pakistan does have like a child rape problem, don't they?
Pakistan has a lot of problems. There are like so many problems. Like I've been there a few times. I've been there a few times. The only thing I like there was like the historical sites. That's it. But
Yeah.
man, they're so conspiratorial. Like they're all. This is this is one liberal Muslim on Twitter, Tariq Fatah. I tweet about him a lot. Hey,
Is this
he lives in
the
Canada.
Pakistan secularist guy?
What?
Is this the Pakistan secularist or whatever he's called, or is this a different
No,
one? Yeah.
a different guy, Tariq Fatah. I tweet. No, always tweets, how does a country produce so many rectums? And he always Pakistani guy, I kind of like his thing. I criticized Pakistan, and then he muted me because I criticized Pakistan. Like he
What a
muted
cool
me.
guy.
Yeah, so I just like I always quote tweet him because he's always saying like crazy shit. Because this one I noticed is that he is ex-Muslim, but he believes in many of the conspiracies that the Pakistani Muslims believe in. It's like you're ex-Muslim, but you still believe in all these crazy conspiracies. Like, oh yeah, and I got some interesting facts about the guy who created Pakistan. Did you know his daughter stayed in India? Hello?
Sorry, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. So the guy who created
Recording a bit.
Pakistan. Okay. So the guy who created Pakistan, his daughter stayed in India.
Huh. You wouldn't
Yes, because
think you'd want to do that, seeing as you've just started a small
no, his
war
thing,
with them.
his thing, his daughter actually left Islam, so he disowned her.
Ah, that'd do it.
Yeah, because apparently she wanted to marry a non-Muslim, so she got
Yep.
disowned, and she stayed in India. So what's and I found the life of Jinnah. He is a really interesting guy, and I do. I'm lazy, but I really want to make a video about the guy because his life is there's a lot of things that many people don't know. For example, that he couldn't speak the official language of Pakistan. He couldn't speak the official language of Pakistan, Urdu.
Really?
Yeah, he couldn't speak it. He only spoke like a few words, just to impress people. Like he learned a few words. That's it. And his like you look at all of his speeches. Only one is like an Urdu, and like he was struggling. You could tell he was struggling. And then all of his other speeches were just English. Yeah, and I know that his sister was killed by the military in the '60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any particular reason, or
I think it's
what
because she was opposed to the first dictator. She was opposed to Ayub Khan, the first dictator.
yeah. Yes, well, don't criticize the guy in charge, or
Yeah.
bad shit tends to happen.
Yeah. And what's and this guy, his life is very interesting because according to people that were close to him, he apparently drank and ate pork. Apparently,
Hmm.
and then
That's
and what's interesting, he Pakistan like Shias are persecuted in Pakistan, but the guy who made Pakistan, he was a Shia.
I'm seeing a logical inconsistency here. Just a bit of a
Yeah,
bit.
there's a lot. I think yeah. So basically, when it came to creation Pakistan, he only visited East Pakistan once when he went to the country for 1 year before he died. He only went to East Pakistan once, and that was to tell them your language is banned.
Well, I'm sure
Really?
that went down just perfectly.
Yeah. So and like when he declared Pakistan, the problem was it's not native to Pakistan. It's native to North India, the Urdu language. So basically, the reason for that is because the people that created the Muslim League, they were from North India, and they basically were Islamists that wanted another Mughal empire, like another caliphate in India.
Yeah, not a fan, to be honest. Let's not
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. And my grandmother, who's still alive, was I think she was in her 20s when the partition happened. Yeah, so my grandmother was alive during that time. She still is, but she's having like memory problems now. So, and this is that Muslims that opposed India, most of them were like Islamists, and like a few were like secularists. Like really weird.
Mm.
Had Raja Khan, who was secular, but he had Jamati Islami, who are Muslim Brotherhood sympathizers. They were against the partition actually. Yeah.
It's just a massive shit show.
Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and like a lot of religious minorities actually supported Pakistan, and like right after Pakistan was created, they were all persecuted, just like that.
Yeah, that's might have backed the wrong horse there, but just a tad.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was watching once read this one quote where Hitchens said like the creation of Pakistan was like one of the biggest mistakes in human history. It was
Yeah, I mean,
like
you were saying that if India still had a border with Iran, then they could
yeah,
have stepped in and stopped the 1979, couldn't they?
yeah they could have. And I actually talked, and you know what's interesting? Between 1945 and 1948, India had the potential to be the most powerful Asian country during the Cold War. It had the potential. What happened? India lost one third of her military,
Whoa,
one third of the economy. They lost millions of people in riots. They lost infrastructure in the riots.
shit.
Yep. So they had that potential to be the most powerful country in Asia, more powerful than China or Japan, because Japan was being demilitarized. China had a civil war.
Yeah.
Yep. They had the potential, but and what else? So
It's a pity.
oh wait, there was only in yeah, and it's Pakistan's military history. They only won one war, just one war, and that was because they got like, yes, the India guy he cut at the last minute. So India invades Pakistan, and then I know that there was like the Soviets negotiated a peace treaty in one of the Central Asian countries, and then the Indian prime minister he died of a heart attack the day after he signed the peace treaty.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, so people have been blamed. So people think it was a CIA thing because the
Hmm.
Pakistani dictator at the time he was actually supported by the Americans.
Uh, that's that's the problem because uh,
Yeah,
America does tend to look after their own
yeah,
interests, quote unquote.
yeah. Like that's every single human. Like everyone has their own interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what was one thing that was interesting is that there was there was actually there were like a few provinces that didn't join India or Pakistan. There was like some princely states. So when it came to British India, some parts were ruled by the British, and others were ruled by princes. Like
Hmm.
there was like this one, like one of the three states, the state of Hyderabad, state mostly Hindu. The king, the Nizam, he was a Muslim, and he funded the Muslim League during the 1945 elections.
Yeah, but bit of a
This
mistake
South,
there.
yeah, and one of the other people who funded the Muslim League during 45 elections, the Aga Khan, a few months before partition, he left India, stayed in England, and then died in Egypt. So one of the biggest funders, one of the guys who helped create Pakistan financially, basically left the country before it even got created. The Aga Khan, like, like, should like,
Yeah, it's,
you
it's
look
a
at it,
bit of
like,
a problem.
yeah, like they got like so much money during the 1945 elections. And the very interesting thing is that the guy who created Pakistan, Jinnah, he wasn't religious for most of his life. He wasn't religious to even begin. Like he was actually, but he was first part of Gandhi's party actually until the 20s. He
Yeah.
went to England. Yeah, he went to England and then came back, joined the Muslim League, and then I know that like during the build up to partition, he basically told a lot of people to defend themselves, quote unquote, and that basically
Hmm.
caused a lot of riots.
Yeah.
A lot of riots happened. See, like so, we just finished World War II. A few years after that, 1 million people died in India, and nobody really was trying to really get concerned about it. Like, did we really learn
Mhm.
from World War II? Did we?
No, I mean we all said after World War I, let's not do it again, and then we did it
Yeah,
again, and then we said, okay, let's seriously not do it again, and you
yeah,
just kind of ignore it when it's happening. So
Yeah, we did it again. Yep.
And again and again and again.
Oh yeah, so I know that last week was a Shia holiday called Ashura. Like that's when they stab themselves with knives on
Yeah,
their head.
that's
Oh
yeah. I saw a video of them doing that to like a 7-year-old kid, and that was fucking
yeah,
awful.
yeah. They do this because they want to feel the pain that the third caliph Ali felt during his battles. Like the
Yeah,
Shias, but the Shias they hate Aisha. They hate her.
she
That was like
was
Muhammad's.
second
Yeah,
wife, right?
Muhammad's 9-year-old wife. Yeah, Muhammad's 9-year-old
Yeah.
wife. Like they hate her. They hate her.
Any particular
You
reason,
guys
or
basically sided with the Sunnis against the Shias. And the
ah, so
and
she
like
backed Abu Bakr, did she?
no, Abu Bakr was already dead.
Ah, right.
Yeah, and what's the interesting thing was the Ridda Wars, but you didn't find out until I left Islam. But I still live in a Muslim family, so I can't be public about it. So
Okay.
yeah, so I didn't even knew what the Ridda War was, and that there was even apostasy. I didn't even know like there were people that left the religion right after they died. I never knew about that. And like, do you know about the whole concept of taqiyya, right?
Um, just claiming someone's not a real Muslim and then they're an
Oh,
apostate, so it's
that's
alright for you to kill them, right?
no, that's
Oh, that's takfir, right?
that's
Taqiyya, that's the lying one.
yeah. I didn't even knew what that was until I left the faith. I didn't even knew what that was. I didn't.
Because it's a mostly Shia thing, isn't it?
It's not a
'Cause-
Shia thing, but I noticed that some people, the alt-right, they apply this to the Sunnis. And I read that
yeah.
in some Sunni sects they can apply this. Like, and it was interesting that in the word in Urdu, Kia means pillow. So you go try telling a Pakistan, they think you're gonna be talking about pillow.
Nice.
So so interesting. The whole camel piss thing. That is such a weird hadith, camel piss.
Which hadith is this? Because it sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, basically, I know I forgot. I don't know the whole story off the top of my head. So apparently, Muhammad said camel piss can be used as medicine.
Dude, Muhammad was woke as fuck.
So I know that I actually once read online that they still sell it in parts of Saudi. They sell camel piss.
Holy shit, that's the greatest thing.
Yeah, and apparently the World Health Organization stop stressing camel piss.
Fucking hell.
Fucking camel. Yeah, fucking
But no,
camel.
perfect religion, guys. Perfect religion. No problem here.
Yeah, fucking camel. Right, there's also
Bit
some
of
other
one.
crazy. There's also other crazy rules in Islam. For example, men can wear gold. We cannot wear gold.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. Okay.
Like I never understood that. I never understood that.
Isn't there also the thing where you have to wash yourself before praying, but if you're
Oh
in a
yeah.
desert with no water, you're allowed to wash yourself with rocks or sand,
Um.
so you don't die of dehydration?
Yeah. 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 And what's interesting. What's very interesting is that one of the other hadiths. I don't remember which one. This is off the top of my head. Um. I forgot which hadith I was trying to refer to. There was the camel piss. There's the gold. Um. I found it funny, like how like he was like 50 by the time God revealed Himself. It was like in a
Hmm.
cave in the middle of nowhere. It
Yeah.
was like, and that's like ominous. That's like, like this is what he first said was read, read. And then Muhammad thought he was being haunted by demons. Actually,
Wasn't it his like wife who convinced him that it was God talking to him or something?
yes. So basically, basically it was the females that fucked us up.
Nah, broke it.
So basically, so basically, it's the females. The females are why we got the most feminist religion in history.
Yeah.
Interesting that I know she was older than him. I think older than him, and that she was rich.
Yeah, she
Like she
was
was
like
rich.
a merchant, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a merchant. Yeah, she was a merchant, and apparently she was his favorite wife.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. And oh yeah, I remember like a few months ago I was at my mosque, and the imam says, "Don't look into Islam because then you're gonna start ending up." And he said like, "Don't read all into Islam. Don't." He basically said, "Don't read everything about Islam. Only read the basics and don't ask stupid questions." I'm like, stupid
That's
questions.
not suspicious at all. But so like come to the religious authorities if you want the big questions.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Something fishy going on here.
yeah. Like at the mosque I go to. Well, I'm in college right now, so I don't go there right now. At mosque, it's mostly Pakistanis, and then there's like some Arabs, but they only talk to themselves. And like
Hmm.
there's like a Turkish mosque like 10 miles away.
Yeah.
So it was yeah. I've been thinking about this lately. Like you look at every single Arab state, they're all fucked up.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you look at. Yeah, I was thinking about any way we could. Is the way we could try to save these countries before to the point there's like almost no hope for them. It's like
Yeah,
and I found it yeah
I
very,
think
very
Kurdistan is
interesting.
the big hump.
Yeah, like that's really like a requirement. We need a Kurdish state. Don't
But
hate
yeah,
it.
we can't really like openly support anything because if
Yeah,
the West supports anything, then it's clearly trying to
yeah,
destroy the
and
country or something, and then they're gonna go against
yeah.
it. So
And the problem with Kurdistan is that even if all the like it will be landlocked. That's the biggest problem. They'll be landlocked.
yeah,
It's like the biggest problem unless they start going to conquer land. So like the whole Kurdish situation and you know it's interesting. There's only one Gulf state that we never hear about in the news. There's only one Gulf state.
Oman maybe.
Yes. Always Oman is the because they're authoritarian as fuck, but they don't like when it comes to the whole Shia Sunni conflict, they don't get involved. They're like,
Wait,
nope.
I didn't even know Oman existed until what 2 months ago because no one ever
I know
talks
that.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't fund the terrorists, they don't get involved in all this crazy shit that the other Arabs do. But they're very authoritarian. Like you could get arrested for criticizing the king. If you're gay, you get arrested. Apostasy.
Lovely. But
And it's very interesting.
which
Like
Gulf state are we
Omani,
talking about before?
yeah, and it's interesting. Like the Omani Arabs, they don't wear like the whole like the Arab like the Arab hood. I don't know what it's called. They wear like a turban. The Omanis,
Ah, yeah.
like that. And I found it interesting is that a lot of Muslim imams in non-countries wearing Arab clothes is considered it's like a really good thing. It's like you're a good Muslim if you wear Arab clothing.
Yeah. Oh,
And especially Pakistan, they have an inferiority complex. Like for example, Muslim Pakistanis have Arab names. They view Arabs as the master race, even though Arabs hate Pakistanis.
that's
Like it's like
whoops.
I know that in Saudi, like you know like how like, they have like servants and like a lot of servants. You should get like a lot of
Yeah.
Pakistan, like a lot of Bangladesh, like Pakistanis,
Yeah.
Bangladeshis. They abuse the living shit out of them. Like they all worship the Arab because yeah, they're all a bunch of Arab supremacists. And like Pakistanis, they view Arab history superior to their own history.
Yeah, that is a shame.
Yeah, and a lot of Muslims love that. They don't like that Islam saved them from their pagan faith. It's a good thing they invaded us and killed 2 million of our people, killed millions of our people, raped our women, took our gold. They consider it a
Yeah,
good thing.
that's sad. Yeah.
Hmm, yeah, and you know, recently Isaac made a tweet about like how like Russian foreign policy might be driven by the fact that Putin wants more Russians. Apparently,
Yeah.
that's always. I think it was an interesting statement. But by that logic, Putin could have just annexed the Russian areas of Central Asia that have large
Yeah.
Russian populations to get away with it because nobody really gives a shit about Central Asia. Not even the Muslims give a shit about them anymore. They used to, but
Yeah.
the problem is that Central Asian Muslims, they consider they're too secular to be Muslims, the Central Asians.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like when you talk to Muslims, you think about Pakistan, Saudi, Iran, but you never hear about like Kazakhstan or Tajikistan
Yeah.
because
True.
they recognize Israel, the Central Asians.
Yeah. That's never a good way to build relationships with the rest of them.
Yeah, I know that with the Egyptians, the only reason why they recognize Israel is just because they wanted Sinai back, just to get Sinai back.
Yeah. I mean,
And
Israel
yeah,
did kind of kick the shit out of them.
yep. Like, you think about it, like the Israeli military is really badass. Like they just win.
Oh yeah.
They own
Like
the air.
the fact that they can
Yep.
fight off, was it? Okay, it was Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt,
Yep.
Palestinian like elements, and
Yes.
then come
And
in from Iraq and Saudi and do it all in
yeah,
6 days.
and those, not
Fucking
just that,
crazy.
have okay, they also have troops from other Muslim countries like North Africa. They had some Pakistani pilots.
Wow.
No, Egypt had one North Korean pilot. Oh, they had one North Korean guy.
Top notch.
Like, who would get a North Korean to fight a war for them? Like, who?
Yes.
Yeah, and apparently the IDF today just announced they're decreasing standards for female soldiers now.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing
Yeah.
they might be desperate for troops, the Israelis.
Maybe. Maybe.
Um,
But yeah,
and
it doesn't
considering
bode
that,
well.
yeah, because
'Cause-
they boarded Syria, they boarded Lebanon.
True.
Lebanon's
I mean,
and Lebanon's interesting because it used to be a Christian majority country, and then the big shift happened, and then the civil war.
yeah. And now it's
Yeah, the only reason
basically controlled
yeah,
by
the only reason
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah, I think it was Hezbollah who created the doctrine of suicide bombing.
Huh.
Then Bin Laden adopted it,
Yeah.
and then basically everyone adopted it. So, and it's very interesting because that was communist was Yemen, North Yemen. Like,
Hmm.
it was really weird that North Yemen, because North and South Yemen were two. One was like British colony, one was like its own country until the 90s when they were unified.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's also Venezuela, the communist capital of South
Oh
America.
God. That's a
Yeah,
disaster. Holy shit.
you have Venezuela. So you got the communists they took over. Everyone's starving. They can't sell oil.
Hmm.
They're gonna start eating pets now. Like
Yeah.
they're starting eating pets. Yeah. So what do you think the solution is to Venezuela?
Um. hmm. I don't think your military. Uh,
The
I'd,
military, the
I'd, I'd
military.
like the US to buy the oil because I'd rather take oil from them than the Saudis or the Iranians.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah.
with the
But
current
the problem is,
regime, will never sell it to
yeah,
us.
I think what I think we should do is like start. A lot of people actually don't forget about this, but Russia has a lot of oil. Also, the Russians they have a lot of
Hmm.
oil,
The Caspian Sea
and
is a
so do the
shitload, doesn't it?
Canadians. Yeah,
Yeah.
so does the Canadians, but the Canadians have been basically like under Justin Trudeau. Oh, I hate that guy. He been
Uh,
shutting down a lot of the
the
oil
Alpha
fields.
Cup.
Oh yeah, you know what the motion 103 motion?
Uh, no.
Yep.
Is that the one that was like condemning Islamophobia or something?
Yeah. So the person who wrote it, Ikra Khalid, was born in Pakistan, and before she wrote the bill, she had meetings with the Saudi and Pakistani consulates.
Absolutely no ulterior motives here. None at all.
Yeah. Yep. So.
No, Justin Trudeau's kind of fucks Canada just to cat him.
Yeah, and Trump called him. Yeah, Justin from Canada. Oh, look at Justin. Yep. So, what you know what's interesting is that there's actually a picture of him as a baby with Castro in Cuba.
Seriously?
Like his dad was also prime minister, and he was like socialist. He went to Cuba for
Shit.
diplomatic. They had friendly relations with the Cubans. And the Trudeau was born when he was prime minister. So when he went
That
to see Castro, he brought Justin with him.
That's really worrying. Okay.
People only vote for him and weed. That's one reason why he won the elections, Trudeau in the first place.
Yeah. Rip Canada. It's all gone.
Yeah. Only if we haven't lost the war of 1812. Only if. Yeah, that's the like. When I talk to Canadians, they always brag about that war, like how they burned down the White House.
I mean, Washington wasn't exactly a massive city at the time, was it?
It's not really. It's actually still a small city. Like the land size was small. It's only 600,000 people.
I mean,
like it was never meant to be big. BC, but
230,000 people. That's about the size of New Zealand's capital, which is tiny.
like I've been to DC. It's a very nice city, especially like all the historical sites and the monuments. It's very nice. And I've been to the Congress building. It is massive on the inside. There's this one room where they have a ceiling made out of gold.
Just casual gold ceiling.
Like, I think it was 24 karat gold.
Jesus.
Yeah. I also know that in Malaysia, I don't think it's in Brunei. They have a mosque where the dome is like the outer areas is made out of gold. In Brunei, it was Malaysia.
I'm sure those
I think also
tax
have.
dollars are put to good use.
Yep, and also I know the King of Brunei. He has like a big palace, so many like sports cars. And I think the same thing's with Dubai, like all these like really fancy shit.
Yeah.
So
Dubai is an interesting one because they
Dubai,
got
yes.
a massive amount of their wealth because they open trade up to the rest of the world on top of their oil money instead of Saudi.
Yeah, I know that.
Uses tourism.
I know that the capital is Abu Dhabi of the country. That's the oil. Dubai is a lot of business because they don't have his thing. They don't have. I don't think they have income tax in Dubai. So I don't think. I know Saudi. They don't didn't have an income tax until recently.
Yeah, if they could pay it all off with just pulling the money from the ground.
Yeah.
Also, I guess
Yeah,
Hajj brings in a shitload of tourist money, doesn't it?
It's only 10. It's only 10% of the economy. The Hajj, only 10% currently. But they do plan. But they are investing in it. Like they're building like this really huge ass hotel near Mecca. Near the Kaaba, they're building this huge ass hotel that can hold like 10,000 people.
It does look really weird, like this big, massive, modern city, and then in the middle, Grand Mosque. Yeah, it just looks fucking weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still find it crazy that the Grand Mosque can hold the entire population of my country, which is
but it's like
shit.
You make millions of dollars just for the black stone. Just for the black stone.
Sure.
Like you look at it, there's not really much innovations that come. Like they can't really sell technology since they're not making any innovations. Like look at the Israelis and Japanese. They make our computers, processors, GPUs,
Yeah,
consoles.
and the Israelis do a lot of medical science as well, don't they?
Yeah,
But the
and
stereotype of the Jewish doctor comes from somewhere.
yeah, and man, yeah. So what do you think Europe will have to do to save itself?
Uh, I think eventually they're gonna have to put in some pretty fucked up authoritarian laws if
Yes.
the situation keeps
Good.
getting worse the way it is. But hopefully it doesn't come
Yeah.
to that. Like,
Yeah. I hope not.
I'm not anti-immigration in itself, and I think the actual refugees fleeing
Yeah.
from Syria and Iraq should be housed. But since there's no way to
Yeah.
distinguish them from the economic migrants, you
Yeah.
can't, you know,
And yeah,
just
and
watch
we
the
need to tell
country
the
get
Gulf
burned
states.
down.
Yeah, and we need to tell the Gulf states to take your brothers in, take your Arab brothers and sisters
Yeah,
because they speak the
exactly.
same language, they have similar culture. And like
Yeah.
the whole doctrine of refugees, like you're supposed to go to the nearest safe country.
Mm. I
Like
mean,
the Saudi.
Saudi's right there.
Yeah. And I know that
Hopefully they stop like shooting them.
yeah, that the I think the first step is like we need to eventually get off the Saudi oil. That's like the first step. Yes, you look at
Yeah.
politicians, they don't talk about Saudis, they don't talk about Islamic terror, they only just talk about not all Muslims, that's all they ever talk about.
Yeah.
And yep, so but just don't forget, like I know that they make lots of money selling weaponry to the Saudis.
I know it was like
Like
$110
they
billion of weapons were sold. I can't
yeah,
remember what it was, like 6 months ago.
yeah. I was actually watching this one video of this private contractor who was sent to Saudi for like I think it was like a year or two just to train the Saudi military. And it was about like how like the generals just think that knew that the Americans would just save them like the war happened. And they talk about how like they have no discipline, the military, no
Yeah.
unity. Yeah, but I have a friend who told me that it's a good thing that Arabs don't win wars. A good thing. If you think about it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to end the stream in about 6 minutes.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah. So what else is there? So let's just spend the next 5 minutes talking about the future of Germany.
Oh,
So
God.
yeah, so Merkel's party lost seats to the AfD,
Yeah,
Alternative
that
for
was a good
Deutschland.
sign.
Yeah,
You can see it happening all around Europe. Just the actually well, not alt right, but far right people I
yeah,
wouldn't be
far right.
comfortable having lead coming second or third.
Yeah, and then and I know that UKIP is kind of in like the right wing party in England. UKIP, it's kind of it's being split right now.
Yeah, I
Because
think Nigel Farage leaving kind of
not
broke them because everyone loves Nigel.
yeah, it's not just that. It's like Anne Mary Waters, one of the candidates for UKIP leadership. She lost, and she was the only one who actually talked about Islam. And then she was called a Nazi by like the new head for talking about Islam. So she
Okay,
declared
damn
she's
it.
making her own party. So
Rip UKIP.
yeah.
I'll be very interested to see how the Sweden elections go
Oh
when they
yes.
do come around.
Oh Sweden. Oh yeah. We got talk. Oh
uh,
yeah. Sweden. Where like a lot of
or
the
Sweden.
I know like a lot of Afghans, Somalis, and Arabs live there. Like they took over Malmo.
Mm. Yeah, Malwa, Gothenburg, and yeah, Malmo and Gothenburg are the two main ones. I can't remember if it's either 10 or 22% of the population now migrants,
Hmm.
which is fucking crazy.
I think it's a high number now. And yeah, like Sweden. I think Sweden. I think it comes to Western Europe. Sweden's gonna be the first to go
Yeah,
before UK and
it's so
France. We're
sad
gonna be the
because
first.
like Sweden was the role model of how you could make like at work. It was one of the
Yeah,
greatest places in Europe, but
yeah.
you know,
And now it's one of the
can't have a
scariest.
system like that
Now the
with
greatest,
open borders.
and now the greatest place to live in Europe is Poland.
Indeed.
And like in parts of Eastern Europe, like you got like the Czech Republic, Slovakia, then you got like Ukraine, like Eastern Ukraine. There's like conflict in Eastern Ukraine, and then there's like
Yeah.
Belarus. Like it's like a people don't really know about it, but Belarus, the guy is actually the longest serving dictator in Europe. He's like considered Kushenko. He's considered Europe's last dictator.
I
The
mean,
guy in charge of
you don't
Belarus.
really hear much about Belarus. I think, yeah, all I know is that it's very authoritarian and not really a nice place.
Yeah.
But
No.
nothing specific.
History, like it was like Western Europe was always switching to Eastern Europe. Like it was Western Europe that had the colonies, the rest of Europe that had the best innovations. If you look at Eastern Europe, it's cold.
Mm.
And like it's like really cold. Like that played a lot to economy. Like
That's all we got. Yeah, I think like
Russians, they
the
took
Soviet Union kind of just fucked everything up in Eastern Europe, and they haven't
yeah,
really been able
and
to regain the.
when the Russians took East Prussia from Germany after World War II because they wanted warm water ports because the other ports like it freezes during the winter, so they took East Prussia from the Germans and they gave West Prussia to Poland. Basically, they kicked all the Germans out, repopulated with Polish. So I think like Germany's loss in Prussia kind of led to its decline.
Yeah,
Well, I guess that's a good way to end it. End it with the Prussians.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely worse ways of ending it. Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me. It was a good talk, and I learned a lot, so that's good.
Yep,
And now I got to
same
think
here.
about, got to go double check Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi being alive. So
Okay.
shit. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
See ya.